Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's tech guest, but first, we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, the Florida Coaches Coalition, We Coach, Vital Signs Wall of Fame, and the Global Community of Women in High School Sports. You heard me say many times, these are four great organizations. You should really add them to your network. And now, don't hit that fast forward button. Stay with us for the next 3 minutes as we give our sponsors their shout out. These are all great companies that I used as an athletic director or as a coach. You should be using them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association management platform for the podcast. It's also your one-stop platform for scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance, coaches clearance, and so much more. As an AD, I used Home Campus every single day, and it was just great. To find out more about what Home Campus can do for you and your program, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. We want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to gipper.com, and their pros are going to show you how to create world-class marketing content for your school's social media channel. It's the official social media graphics solution for our podcast, and it'll be your solution too, helping you celebrate your teams, promote your athletes, and really set your brand out there on social media. Mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. That's gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to HUDL. Go to HUDL.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used HUDL for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a HUDL school. And our coaches just loved the tools that HUDL sent us that allowed them to coach their kids at the highest level. At HUDL, we believe in sports and teams believe in HUDL. Join the 8 million users and turn your school into a HUDL school. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to show off your school record boards for all your sports, your school's Hall of Fame, or just tell more compelling stories. Vital Signs Wall of Fame is on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, digital ticketing that offers more. Go to hometownticketing.com. They're going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online, but they're also going to provide you with a dedicated client success manager giving you hands-on support every step of the way. Hometown is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started today. We also want to thank Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job better. If you're looking for a fundraising platform, stop right here. SnapRaise is hands down the best you can find. But there's a lot more. There's Snap Manage, Snap Store, Snap Connect. You'll find it all at snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demo to see their tables and their scoreboards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was their Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products today. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire program. Athletic directors already hear from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe about everything. Athletic surveys connect you with the 2%, but they also connect you with the 98% that love and support your program. It's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with that frustrated parent or your principal or your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey for you that allows you to take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. That's athleticsurveys.com. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We've got a 2-for-1 today. We've got two great guests going to be talking about a program that I'm going to guess some of you might already be using. First, I want to introduce Tony Linder. Tony is a product manager with HUDL. Those of you that are regular listeners know that HUDL's been a longtime sponsor of our program. And, you've heard me say that I used HUDL for years as a football coach and used HUDL as an AD. We were a HUDL school. Joining Tony is Nick Wilson. Nick is the Director of Ops and Creative Media for Ashville High School. That's in Asheville, Alabama. Nick is a user of one of the newest features of HUDL called the Fan Engagement Suite. We're going to hear from both of them today, but Tony and Nick, welcome to Tech Tuesday.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jake. We appreciate it, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As listeners know, we only have sponsored products that I actually used as a coach or an AD. And you heard me say many times, I just said it, that I used HUDL for years. Tony, the Fan Engagement Suite is something fairly new. So can you explain to our listeners, what it is and kind of how it works?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It is new to the extent that HUDL's optimizing it, but we've technically had a fan engagement suite for years. It's just been more focused on the athletes and the actual teams. So those are familiar with the athletes who on their Twitter profiles or X profiles now have their HUDL link that shows off their highlights and their athletic history. That's really what our really only version of the fan engagement suite has been. But now we're really leaning in and optimizing it for the entire school. What works really well for HUDL is our performance suite. So think about the traditional coaching tools that teams and athletes are already using. These are the things they're doing with video breakdowns and notes and illustrations and all the fun stuff that HUDL's been known for previously. A lot of the content that they're generating, a schedule entry, a score that maybe output from HUDL Assist Breakdown, or the live streams that they're creating or the highlights, we can aggregate all of that stuff together and it becomes a one-stop shop for the fans to go catch up on the latest game highlights or go watch the live stream tonight because they are not able to attend in person. Maybe they just want to check the score on the fan engagement suite or the fan experience. So really, we're trying to turn it into a one-stop shop for those fans to go engage with their favorite teams, athletes, and schools. It also turns it into a one-stop shop for the AD because all of that content it's not automatically, a lot of it's automatically generated, but their coaches are already using a lot of the tools. And so that the tools that they're using does a lot of the work for the athletic director. So if I go in and I create a schedule entry, that automatically records the game on HUDL Focus. It live streams it on HUDL. I submit the game to HUDL Assist to get my breakdowns. That gives me a score and creates highlights automatically. So it's really one little piece of input. Tell me the date and the time of your game. It's a pretty big output for the school at large. So that's really what we're trying to do is also make a one-stop shop for both the athletic director and the fans and be that liaison between the community and the school.
Well, you kind of answered what was going to be my next question. The phrase "you don't know what you don't know," applies across the board. And for me, 100 years ago, as a football coach, HUDL had been out for a while, and that's HUDL. I'm still watching my VHS tapes and breaking them down that way. And then when I finally took the dive, I was just going, "Wow, this is the greatest thing in the world." For that tech challenged athletic director like me that might be listening, you kind of answered about just by creating the scheduled game, all those things happen that they don't have to do. Is there anything else that I'm missing as far as, the ease of operation? Nick, I know you're going to talk about this later, but Tony, from your perspective, how easy is it?
Yeah, I mean, again, date time. If you put your opponent in there, we'll even know when you're playing on the road. And so we can say, hey, if this opponent is live streaming the game, we can populate that live stream on your own school's profile as well. So it is pretty straightforward. We want to keep it as easy as possible. We know that athletic directors have a lot on their plate already. They're managing multiple systems, let alone making sure the lights are on at the right time for the practice to get going and any, anything else that's going on within the athletic department. So everybody, for the most part, wants to keep things simple, and that's what we're trying to lean into.
Now, again, you kind of mentioned it. Huddle traditionally has been, more in the athlete, the coach, analyzing film or getting highlight videos for athletes. Did you have people reaching out and asking, hey, can you do more, or is this just something you sensed there was going to be a need, a market for?
A little bit of both. One of my favorite lines is luck is preparation meets opportunity. We happen to have a lot of great technology in place already with our focus cameras. If anybody remembers 3 years ago, there was not a whole lot of attendance happening in person, and especially in gyms. And so we were uniquely positioned with our focus cameras on the wall to get into the live streaming space. That really opened athletic directors' eyes to how they could be engaging more digitally with their fans. Things like social media obviously have been around for a while, but that really transitioned us into this whole world of digital communication between the athletic department and the fans. And so, yes, we both spotted an opportunity, and we are hearing from athletic directors that you guys have a lot of the stuff that we're already using. How can we consolidate our systems to maybe have a one-stop shop, or maybe reduce the amount of systems that we're already using? So from there, we started into obviously the live streaming space. We're starting to optimize all of this at the school level. We'll move into digital ticketing this year as well. And one of the strategic themes that we have at Huddle is to always advance the starting line. So you think about how Huddle started, it was driving across the state, exchanging VHS tapes. We advanced the starting line by allowing you to upload that video and share it. We're trying to do the same thing with the fan engagement suite as well, where we take less, or we're taking more and more work off the athletic director's plate and doing a lot of this stuff even more automated than before.
Okay. I'm going to be that cranky old athletic director again. And full transparency, even as an athletic director, we were a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved, everything that Huddle did. Our customer service was fantastic. Since this is a new program, I'm imagining, there's may have been a hiccup or two, or things that you didn't realize pop up. Have there been any challenges, and what are you guys doing to address those?
I mean, what's the first challenge in really any new product? It's embracing the change, or having the willingness to make that change. We know it will be a new place for fans to discover, and we're doing the best we can to get that word out there so they know where to go. But there are going to be systems that schools have maybe deeply entrenched in, that we'll have to show them kind of what the value of our product is. So change management, regardless of what company or industry or organization, and change management is always a challenge, right? I think there's going to be some other things in terms of, there's certain programs that maybe don't get the full benefits of Huddle already, that are going to want to use this, and we're just not optimized for right now. So Jake, you mentioned football, basketball, volleyball, soccer. A lot of the sports that we really optimize our performance suite for, those coaching tools that I mentioned earlier, as we add more and more sports each year, we haven't quite got to some of the others. You think about maybe a tennis program, you can use Huddle at a base level, but maybe we don't have the assisted breakdown. So there's going to be a challenge to get those sports up and running as fast as possible, so they can take advantage of all of the great fan engagement suite offerings, because the performance suite really powers the fan engagement suite. So those are two I see right out of the gate, is change management, and just, we'd like to have optimization for every sport right out of the gate. It just takes obviously years to keep adding those on. Thankfully, we'll have baseball, softball, and wrestling this year. So three more sports being added, which would be good for those schools, a lot of schools.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting to see how those, develop over time. And again, you don't know what you don't know. Somebody who hasn't been using it, they just don't understand, how good something can be. Nick, let's go and hear from you. You're kind of boots on the ground. You're at a high school. You're not the AD. You're what every AD wants, a director of ops and media. How has the fan engagement suite worked for you? And I guess maybe what's some feedback you've heard from the greater community there in Asheville?
So, just a little bit of context before I really get into it. I coach 3 sports here, and it's a small, very small. I mean, we have 380 kids 9 through 12 in our school, and there's 3,000 people in our community. And so engaging those people and keeping them engaged. I mean, this is really what our town, this is the only thing to do in our town. I mean, it's athletics. It's all about the school. It's all about the local school play. And so, when I was approached about the fan engagement suite by HUDL, I was interested because especially the past 5 or 6 years, they've been iterating, I guess, kind of in this direction. And this was something that I think subconsciously I always wanted, but I didn't know I needed until they came to me and said, "Hey, we're thinking about doing this." And then they showed it to me, and I started thinking about all the ways that it could be used. And it's been amazing for us because it creates a bridge for our athletic department to our community that, if you want to think about it, I guess in these terms, it's like having a 2-lane bridge and then somebody coming in and saying, okay, we're going to pay millions of dollars to take this 2-lane bridge between point A and point B and expand it to a 6-lane bridge. And you're not going to have to do anything. There's no work really on your end other than what you've already been doing. And so that's the experience that we've had here, where we don't have all the resources that a lot of schools have. We're a rural community, we're a county school, and the tool set provided by their performance suite for the coaches and the players, we've been, reaping the benefits from that for years as a HUDL school. But now that HUDL's sort of pivoting and taking all the technology they've built for that performance suite and they're going consumer facing or fan facing with it, it's helping us do so much more in less time with the same amount of resources. No more resources required, which is huge for a school. I mean, you're a coach, you're an AD, you understand how amazing that is. You do more with no more input, no more work, no more money. And for us, that's been huge. I mean, our fans have thoroughly enjoyed it. We as coaches, I mean, like Tony said, it's, you set up your schedule in HUDL, you tell it the time and you're done. And then your fans have one central location where they can engage in highlights, scores, schedules, everything. It's been awesome for us.
Yeah. You bring up again, a common theme, not working harder, but working smarter. And, I've been in your shoes too, coach, 3 sports. So, hats off to you for that. You talk about, community engagement. What are some, I guess, examples of athletic directors, coaches? We always hear back from the complainers, hey, you didn't have the kickoff time correct, or, something went wrong, but very seldom do you get those attaboys, those pats on the back. What are some community comments that have been in the positive since you started the fan engagement program? What are some things that you've heard from the community?
Well, the immediate example, and this is gonna be telling of how small and I guess, I don't know, close knit our community is with all the good and bad that has. But so I was actually a really good friend of mine owns the local Mexican restaurant in town. And if you know anything about, the great state of Alabama, we thoroughly enjoy our Mexican cuisine, especially after, church on Sundays. But regardless, I was talking to him about it, and he's one of our biggest partners for the athletic department, and very generous, always supportive. And when we adopted the HUDL Focus system for our gym, I think we were, I'm not going to say the first, but we were up there in terms of being one of the first in our area. 2.5 years ago, something along those lines. He's the guy that had it playing in his restaurant, not just on one TV, but he had our like wrestling matches, and we have a very good wrestling team, and our basketball games and volleyball matches on every screen in the Mexican restaurant. And so then when I actually talked to him about this past week, the fan engagement suite, when I brought this to him and we were kind of talking about it, he said, well, I'm just gonna leave that up on one of my TVs. I'm just gonna leave it up on one of my, like, as you walk in, you have the dining room, and then right above the register is a television, and he would run like specials on it and information, and sometimes show games and stuff. If it's on a Saturday or something like that. But now you walk in and it's just our fan engagement suite. You see it, Asheville High School Bulldogs, Asheville, Alabama. It's highlights, schedule of our upcoming events. So as soon as you walk into the restaurant, you have immediate access and you can see what's going on campus and with our teams. And so that's been kind of cool to see play out, because I was sitting in the restaurant the other day, and I was actually having a conversation with one of my other coaches, and then I overheard somebody walked in, and I overheard them go, "Oh, I thought the game was on a Thursday. They changed it to a Friday," which was true. That was true, and it was reflected on our fan engagement suite up there. And so seeing those little things right there, to see not only us engage the community, but us engage the community, and then the community engage other members of the community, and it's sort of a like a slow, tiny buy-in process. And we're actually working with other partners around our community to try to get them on board and to show the fan engagement suite in a similar manner to what Angel's doing at our local Mexican restaurant. And that was pretty cool to see. That was a unique experience.
No, and that's exactly the kind of connections that, I think athletic departments are trying to make, regardless of whether it's small town, big city, whatever, is, you have a community, and, maybe it's just the kids and the parents that's part of a larger community, but making those connections, very cool. Great example. We're going to do this at the end of this segment. We got some more coming, but Tony and Nick will get yours too. If one of our listeners wants to find out more about the HUDL Fan Engagement Suite and HUDL, Tony, how do they get hold of you and the good folks at HUDL?
Yeah, if you want to check out some of the school profiles that exist, so Asheville's beautiful looking HUDL profile, you can go to fan.hudl.com. There's a search bar there. Go find your alma mater. Go find your current school. You can very soon be able to search for any athlete that you may be interested in looking up as well. Maybe that's a recruit for your local college that you're interested in. So fan.hudl.com is the easiest way to find that. If you want to contact HUDL, you can find our normal domain name, hudl.com. We got contact forms there. They can reach out to us. We are happy to chat more about getting you the school set up or any feedback that we might have.
Okay. And Nick, if somebody wants to reach out and talk directly to the director of ops, what's your best contact?
My contact information is on ashevilleathletics.com. So if you want to go there, that's where we have a staff directory. You can reach out to our athletic director. You can reach out to myself or any other coach on campus. So if you coach a specific sport and you don't want to talk to me, then you can talk to you can talk to any one of our coaches. I know anybody on staff would be happy to talk, but our emails are listed, and I know our email address for our booster organization as well as phone number is listed there. Otherwise, I'm just an email away, and I don't really mind giving out my my telephone number either. So just give me an email, shoot me an email, and I'll respond with my telephone number. If you want to call and talk, we'll talk it over. And just a fair warning, I am a talker, so I might bend your ear a little too long, but it's just because I enjoy talking about things like this, and especially when it comes to tools that can enhance communication with your community and what you're doing on campus as an athletic department.
Okay. Well, again, for both of you, thanks for sharing. Tony, coming back to you, one of the things we try to do with our podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So we've talked a little bit about HUDL, we mentioned the focus cameras, and, this segment's been about the fan engagement suite. Anything new coming down the road? What's HUDL going to be looking like in the future? Can you share any insider secrets with us?
It's changing on a monthly basis, which is super exciting. I'll start with the fan stuff that we just talked about. We already talked about the live streaming coming into the fold. Digital ticketing is starting to roll out this year. And really, that's just the beginning. As it grows, we're going to keep trying to, as mentioned earlier, move the starting line forward. So just simplify that system for the athletic department. Again, we know that ADs are wearing a lot of different hats. So anywhere we can make it easier to leverage our tools and really prop up not only the teams and the athletes and help the coaches get better, but also connect with the community as Nick has said. But we'll probably be bringing in things like fundraising making it easier to bring sponsorships into the fold so that Angel in Asheville can get more branding out on the Asheville Huddle profile, and people always know that Angel's got half price after a big football or volleyball win. Hopefully he doesn't have to commit to that now. But and then giving people more ways to communicate with their fans. One of the interesting things that I've talked to a few athletic directors about is this system that we're building. We have the ability to help athletic departments build almost a CRM or a fan base. You can think of that as, you're collecting potentially email addresses for fundraising campaigns. We can help, build that list based on how fans are interacting with those huddle profiles. I know a lot of schools, their students, they lose their email address after they graduate. And so it's really hard to bring them back into the system and really engage with them as alumni. So there's an opportunity there to even help keep that ongoing communication throughout post graduation. There's going to be potentially worlds where integrations with other scheduling softwares to make this even easier to get schedules up to date. Really, there's just a ton of opportunity out there on the fan side, and we're really excited to see that grow. We rely heavily on feedback from folks like Nick or anybody else that wants to reach out. So if there are to replug kind of how they can reach out to us, we got our contact forms on Huddle, but also my email address is pretty straightforward. It's Tony, Tony.Linder, Linder @huddle.com. Happy to take an email and give you my phone number. I'm a little bit like Nick in the sense that I will talk a long time as well. So forewarned, we might have a nice conversation, but very happy to collect that feedback. And then Huddle in general, right? Huddle is always trying to be at the bleeding edge of technology. We've already seen a lot of the new hardware that's been coming out with our focus cameras. We're adding new sports on a yearly basis. We're really trying to bring data and analytics together so they're less in a silo and more, or sorry, not data analytics, data and video together so that they're right next to each other and you can get insights incredibly quickly and not only just see you can actually see the data come to life. So that's always fun to see that. Plenty more to come from the performance side as well with coaching tools and always giving athletes and coaches more so they can hopefully, level up their game and make it to the next level.
Wow. Very, very cool. Nick, I'm going to put you on the spot. Tony just talked about some of the, newer things coming out from Huddle. Which ones of those appeal to you most that you're thinking, hey, I can't wait for that to come out because we're going to use it?
So I'm really excited about everything that Tony just kind of threw out there. But the one thing that I want to key in on, and this is for those, creative, I guess, engaging ADs that really like to talk to, it's and he called it CRM. It's the fan base management side of what they're eventually going to get to. And so again, some context for how we do things here at Asheville. We have one centralized booster organization that is a nonprofit outside of our school system that organizes fundraising and sponsorships, partnerships for our athletic department on behalf of our athletic department. So a byproduct of that is that organization pays a yearly fee to a company for us to use a CRM database platform for us to account for all of our fans, alumni, donors that want to engage with us. And so we have a whole separate system that we have to manage to, I guess, wrangle all of that data together and keep track of who our biggest partners, donors are, and potentially allow us to sift through the data on what kind of leads we should follow in terms of fundraising and donors and things of that nature. So for Tony to say that they're working on tying that type of, I guess, tool set into the fan engagement suite for us to use along with ticketing is super, super exciting, because if there's a one-stop shop for us, both as coaches on the performance side, but also as ADs on the fan side, to really manage an all-income, because you understand, everybody that's listening is going to understand, it's like you have the inward program that you have to manage, which is the performance side of the performance suite that Tony was talking about. And then you have the outward facing part of the athletic department, which is going to be the fan engagement suite. To have them both communicate with one another, to be able to input something one time and it talk to both sides, coaches and fans and players, is going to be key. But then to allow us to generate leads to pay for things like HUDL, that lead to donations that pay for things like HUDL, that's going to be huge. I mean, I've already talked to our booster organization about the possibility, and they'll tell you that the check that we have to write to HUDL every year is the easiest check that we have to write, because they know, based off of the live stream setup that we have, that they've given us, and everything that's coming down the pike with the fan engagement suite, they're super excited just to watch, just to be a part of. But also now they know that HUDL's going to empower us to reach more fans, more alumni, and potentially increase revenue. We're really excited about that.
Nick, one thing, oh, sorry, Jake.
No, I was going to say, absolutely. Marrying all of those different things, ADs, you've got this website for schedule, you got this one for scores, you have this one for officials, very cool stuff. Tony, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, sorry, I jumped right in. Just Nick and I had talked a few weeks back, and one of the things that he said that has really stuck with me is, HUDL has traditionally seen themselves as a software that helps athletes get to the next level. And he had, I think the quote was something like, seeing a student athlete turn into a student donor, or no, however you said that, a post-grad student donor.
Yeah.
Was something super interesting. Which the other thing that I can't remember if Asheville was going to take advantage or not was the student broadcasting piece, and getting some of those kids involved with athletic adjacent activities where they can actually learn about the ins and out of play-by-play, camera switching. And it's really cool to think about. And I've also talked to many athletic directors who said, look, my kid had no idea, one of our students had no idea that broadcasting was a major. And all of a sudden now they're going to college either with a scholarship or without. And it's really, really cool to hear some of that stuff come to life as well.
And Tony, so I'm glad he reminded me of that, because I'm going to pat myself on the back. That was a really good marketable quote that I gave him. But seriously, I mean, when you think about it, to be able to track, and he mentioned it, we give all of our students a student email address, but that data goes away when they graduate. So for us to be able to track, I guess, their transition from high school into adulthood, and to be able to hold on to that contact information is going to be key. Because I mean, how many people lose contact with their high school coaches, one because they leave, or just because they move off and they get a job somewhere and start a family. But if we can maintain an engaging conversation with that individual as they transition into life outside of high school, the potential for that person to have an impact on our athletic department increases exponentially. And I wish I had hard data to like relay to I'm sure after a couple of years we might on this, but that's something that we really haven't been able to do, at least somewhere like Asheville. So for us to have that capability is going to be huge. I meet people all the time, especially because I graduated from Asheville. And so I met a guy the other day that I graduated with, and he said, how are things? And I thought to myself, I work here, so I know how things are. But, it's weird that there are people that spent a majority of their lives at a place, and then they just leave it and they don't know anything about it. So that's for us to have the capability to make sure that we maintain a link with those people, whether they just want to know or whether they want to give back, whatever the case may be. That's huge for a place, especially like us. That's huge.
Yeah, again, very much, a collegiate model, even a private school model, making those connections, communicating what's going on, and then engaging, the fans, that were student athletes, but now they're coming back as fans. Very cool stuff. Tony Linder from HUDL and Nick Wilson, Asheville High School. Thanks so much for sharing with our listeners today on Tech Tuesday, and with me, bringing me up to speed so I can continue to promote all the great things that HUDL does. Thanks again, and all the best with the coming fall season.
Thanks for having us, Jake. Super excited. Practices are starting this week. Phones start ringing at HUDL.
Thanks, Blake. Appreciate it, man.
For our listeners, we do this every single week, and we do appreciate you listening. We also upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Come back next Tuesday for another great tech tip, and just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Well, that was a lot of fun. And again, I used HUDL as a coach, and our school was a HUDL school. Really can't recommend them strongly enough. Check out the fan engagement suite. We also want to thank our other sponsors, Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. Our FIAAA Hall of Fame is a Wall of Fame product, and you should use it at your school too. VitalSignsWallOfFame.com. Snap Raise, part of the Snap Mobile family. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down the best fundraising platform out there. Gipper.com. Start creating world-class marketing content for your school. Kids are on social media. You should be there too. Gipper is going to help you create that professional college look with your social media. Gipper.com. Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. Home Campus, your one-stop shop for scheduling, for game management, for student athlete clearance. Go to homecampus.com to get started. And Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to get started. Thanks again for listening to Tech Tuesday. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.